Good evening and welcome to the City of Pinole Planning Commission meeting of August 10th at 7 p.m. here at the Pinole City Council Chambers at 2131 Pear Street. And this meeting is also being broadcast via Zoom and on the city's website. The public may submit public comments by attending the meeting at the council chambers in person, filling out a yellow public comment card and submitting it to city staff. Members of the public may also submit a live remote public comment via Zoom conferencing. You may use the Zoom mobile app on your device of choice. The webinar ID for this meeting is 865-0537-5301. The public may join via phone at 669-900-6833 or 1-253-215-8782 or 1-346-248-7799. Speakers will be asked to provide their name and city of residence, although providing this is not required for participation. Each speaker will be afforded up to 5 minutes to speak. Speakers will be muted until their opportunity to provide public comment. When the chair opens the comment period for the item that you wish to speak upon, please use the raise hand feature or press star 9 if connecting via telephone, which will alert city staff that you have a comment to provide, and then press star 6 to unmute. To comment with your video enabled, please let the city staff know that you would like your HABTA camera turned on once you are called to speak. Written comments can also be submitted to the planning staff before the meeting via email at dhannum@pinole.gov. Please include your full name, city residence, and the agenda that you're commenting on. Other ways to watch this meeting are live on channel 28 and channel 1070. Meetings are broadcast again on the following week on channel 1070, previously channel 26. The Pinole Community TV program schedule is published on the city's website at Pinole, www.pinole.gov/PCTV. This meeting is also video streamed live on the city's website at www.pinole.gov/PCTV. Meeting videos will remain archived on the site for 5 years. Pinole Community TV can also be live streamed from Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire. Temporary notice that some Comcast subscribers may also be able to see PCTV government media on programming on channel 30 while the city works out a must-carry requirement with the FCC. If none of these options are available to you, or if you need assistance with public comment, please contact Planning Manager David Hannum at 510-724-8912 or at dhannum@pinole.gov. Americans with Disabilities Act. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, if you need special assistance to participate in a city meeting, or if you need a copy of the agenda or agenda packet in an appropriate alternative format, please contact the City Clerk's office at 510-724-8928. Notification of at least 48 hours prior to the meeting or time when services are needing will assist city staff in ensuring that reasonable arrangements can be made prior to the meeting or service. Please note that staff reports are available for inspection at the city's website, and you may also contact the city clerk directly via email at hbll@pinole.gov. Any person wishing to speak on an item listed on the agenda may do so when the chair asks for comments in favor or in opposition to the item under consideration. After all those persons wishing to speak have done so, the hearing will be closed and the matter will be discussed amongst the commission prior to rendering a decision. Any person may appeal an action of the Planning Commission or the Planning Manager by filing an appeal with the City Clerk in writing within 10 days of such action. Following a public hearing, the City Council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 with a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Note, if you challenge the decision of the Commission regarding a project in court, you will be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in writing delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Ralph M. Brown Act, Government Code, subsection 54950. In enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that the public commissions, boards, and councils and other public agencies in the state exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and that their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of the state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people in delegating authority do not give the public servants the right to know what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so they may retain control over the instruments that they have created. And with that, I will call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. All those willing and able to, please rise. Thank you. And now for our land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. And now, Planning Manager Hannum, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Menes,
Present, noting as usual, ex parte communications with email list about the items on tonight's agenda.
Commissioner Huey,
Present.
Commissioner Lamb Julian. She's absent, but I'm under accord that she will be here later this evening. Commissioner Bender,
Present.
Commissioner Martinez,
Present.
Vice Chair Uch,
Present.
Chair Sandoval.
Present.
Let the record show that we have a majority of commissioners and we can take action on all items on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Our next item is citizens to be heard. The public may address the Planning Commission on items that are within its jurisdiction and not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning commissioners may discuss the matter brought to their attention, but by state law, the Ralph M. Brown Act, action must be deferred to a future meeting. Time allowed is 4 minutes. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
There are currently no hands raised online at this moment.
Okay. Thank you for that. And with that, we will move to our meeting minutes, the Planning Commission meeting minutes for July 13th. Are there any questions or comments or concerns on the minutes? Okay, I will make the motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 13th, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Menes,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Uch,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you for that. And our next item is our public hearings. At the beginning of an item, the chair will read the description of the project as stated on the agenda. City staff will then give a brief presentation on the proposed project. The commission may then ask questions about the item. For those items listed as public hearings, the chair will open the public hearing and ask the applicant if they wish to make a presentation. Those in favor of the project will then be given an opportunity to speak, followed by those who are opposed by the project. The applicant will then be given an opportunity for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed and the commission may discuss the item amongst themselves and ask questions of staff. The commission will then vote to approve, deny, or approve in a modified form or continue the matter to a later date for a decision. The chair will announce the commission's decision and advise the audience of the appeal procedure. Please note, no public hearings will begin after 11 p.m. and items still remaining on the agenda after 11 p.m. will be held over to the next meeting. And it looks like we have one public hearing item tonight, Pinole Shores 2 entitlement and extension. Planning Manager Hannum, or do we have a presentation on this item?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Get started, Dave. We get the presentation going up a little bit. Okay, as we're waiting for that, just wanted to start with, as you're aware, there we go. We go to the next slide, please. So basically, our project location again. This is the project site of the Pinole Shores 2 project, located at 830 to 848 through 848 San Paulo Avenue. It's located in the rear of the property. It's approximately 7.37 acres. It was approved back in June, and I can kind of give the next. Go ahead and with the next slide, please. So just to give everybody kind of a reminder of what kind of went on through the background a little bit here. Pinole Shores 2 background. Of course, in 1999, the Pinole Shores was identified as a blighted parcel that could be used to strengthen the city's industrial plan. In April 2005, we have the agency, which is the City of Pinole Redevelopment Agency, approved a disposition and development agreement with the Pinole Development Group for the development of the Pinole Shores Business Park, which was actually the entire park. It was all three areas. In March of 2007, the City and Pinole Development Company entered into a new DDA for the construction of the Pinole Shores 2 project. In May 28, 2019, the city entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with General Realty, CE LLC, to purchase the property at 836 to 848 San Paulo. The address has kind of changed because it's based on the parcels. There were a number of parcels that were included as part of the original plan. Just to let you know, in April in 2008, the city was, which I forgot to add, but in March 2000, or it was in 2008, the Pinole development was not able to complete the construction on their project, and so the property reverted back to the city as part of the disposition and development agreement that they had with Panatone. So I wanted to include that. That's how it got from 2007 to 2019. There was an interim where the city took back ownership of the property. On May 8th, 2023, the Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit, comprehensive design review, and a parcel map for 2 buildings. At which case, then the Planning Commission on June 10th, 2024, approved a new plan that included 1 building. Thanks. Yeah, next slide. Thank you. Approved this plan as part of the Pinole 2 Shores project. Again, the parcel size is 7.37 acres. The building's approximately 1 story, 43 feet tall. It's approximately 121,000 square feet. That includes 2 mezzanines areas, a general floor area, as well as docking for a number of trucks. The general plan designation is service sub area. 3 corridor specific plan land use designation, service sub area, and the zoning designation is office industrial mixed use. If you go to the next slide, Dave. So again, the project, the SSA, just kind of, and this is, I know you've all known this, was just kind of go back into the process. Go to the next slide, Dave. And then of course the zoning, the mixed use sub area, the service sub area for the 3 corridor specific plan designation. If you go to the next slide, please. It shows that the zoning is OIMU, industrial, office industrial mixed use. You should go to the next slide, Dave. So just some renderings of the building that were approved as part of the June 10th project. So those are the southwest elevations as well as the northwest elevations. You go to the next slide. And again, the building from the northeast and the southeast for the building. These were all approved by the commission at the June 10th, 2024 meeting. If you go to the next slide, just the conceptual landscape plan, just giving you an idea of what was approved as part of the original plan or part of the plan. Go to the next slide. I'm kind of going through these. So basically, these were the findings that were made on June 10th. These were the 4 findings that the Planning Commission approved as outlined in Pinole Municipal Code Section 17.12150G. If you go, which basically I'll just go through them real quickly. The proposed project is consistent with the objectives of the general plan and complies with applicable zoning regulations, plan development, master plan, or specific plan provisions, improvement standards, and other applicable standards and regs adopted by the city. That finding number 2 is the proposed project will not create conflicts with vehicular, bicycle, or pedestrian or transportation modes of circulation. Number 3, the site layout or orientation and placement of the buildings and parking areas, as well as the landscaping, lighting, and other developmental features are compatible with and complement the existing surrounding environment and ultimate character of the area under the general plan and applicable specific plans. And then number 4, qualifying single-family residential, multifamily residential, which this finding did not apply due to the fact that this was not a residential project. You go to the next slide, please. So these were the conditional use permit findings that were made as part of the June 10th, 2024 meeting. The proposed use is consistent with the general plan and any applicable specific plans and all applicable provisions of the title. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the use applied for will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, meaning location, the size, the design of the project, or the operating characteristics, be detrimental to the health, safety, and peace, morals, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of such use, or to the general welfare of the city. That the site of the proposed use is physically suitable for the type, density, and intensity of the use and related structures being proposed. And then D, it would be contrary to the specific intent clauses, development regulations, or performance standards established for the zoning district in which it is located. The other proposed use and related structures are compatible with the other land uses, transportation, and service facilities in the vicinity. As a part of this, go to the next slide, Dave. Thank you. These were the required findings for the reduction in the parking, which are outlined in 17.12140 and 17.48060. B1, that the use be adequately served by the proposed parking due to the nature of the proposed operation, proximity to the frequent transit service, transportation characteristics of the persons residing, working, or visiting the site, or because the applicant has undertaken a travel demand management program that will reduce parking demand at the site. Parking demand generated by the project will not exceed the capacity or have a detrimental impact on the supply of on-street parking in the surrounding area, and that the site plan is consistent with the objectives of the zoning district and incorporate features such as an unobtrusive off-street parking placed below the ground level or of the project with commercial uses above, or enclosed parking on the ground floor. And D, the applicant has provided on-site parking for car share vehicles via recorded within agreements between the landowner and the city that run with the land. Agreements shall provide the proof for a perpetual agreement with the car share agency to provide at least one car share vehicle off-site. So we go to the next slide. So the action you guys took as part of the March 10s is that you adopted Resolution 2402 with and Exhibits A through H2 approving the design review of the conditional use permit and the CEQA notice of exemption for the Pinole Shores 2 project located at the 830-848 San Pablo Avenue. As part of that entitlement condition. There was conditions of approval that basically stated that they had 2 years to secure or what they call exercise the permit to establish that. And so we're here tonight because based on certain criteria that happened for the builder, they need to extend the site, extend it for 1 more year. To kind of give you kind of a review or a framework, if you go to the next slide, Dave. Okay, so these are what we deal with in terms of the extension. The permit extension is governed by PMC section 17.10.100, which basically outlines the process, the conditions, the permit extension findings, and then the expiration clause as part of the project. As part of the unless a condition of approval or other provision of this title establishes a time limit, any permit not exercised within 1 year of an approval shall expire and become void except where an extension of time is approved in compliance with C below. In terms, that's 17.A. With the City Council approval date of June 24th, 2024, the Pinole Shores entitlements would have expired on June 26th based on the conditions of approval that you applied, unless a permit was exercised or an extension was requested or granted. The applicant applied for the extension on May 8th, 2024, which was before the project expires. And even though the project expired as we were reviewing the application and going through everything, the project is still in effect at this point. It has not expired. It has not officially expired because they did file the application prior to that. However, based on the exercises of permit, which section B states that the exercise of a permit occurs when the property owner has performed substantial work and incurred substantial liability and good faith reliance upon such permits. A permit may be otherwise exercised pursuant to a condition of the permit or corresponding legal agreement that specifies that the other substantial efforts or expenditures constitute exercise of the permit. In our case, it was the acquisition of the building permit was what was determined as to exercise this project. As of June 10th, 2024, the city this project has not been exercised, and an extension is required in order to keep the permits valid. The maximum time allowed for an extension based on 1710-100C basically stipulates that the Planning Commission may grant a maximum of 3 years from the original approval date for extension of entitlements, which would be through June 10th, 2027, because they already had the 2 years as part of the original entitlement of the project. So in terms of the process and procedures, which is outlined in section 17.10-100 of the PMC, states that the process, the same approving authority that granted the original permit may extend the period within which the exercise of a permit must occur. Notice and/or public hearing shall be provided in the same manner as for the original permit. An application for extension shall be filed not less than 30 days prior to the expiration date of the permit, along with the appropriate fees and applicable submittal materials. They submitted the application May 8th, 2026, so they are within the 30 days prior to the expiration date of the permit. We did note public notice this meeting as far as the noticing requirements that we take for a public hearing process. The process for an extension requires that the review authority, which the Planning Commission is the reviewing authority in this case, due to the fact that this project did not go to the City Council. So that's why if it did, we would be at the City Council asking for the appeal, not the Planning Commission. So but you are the original body. During the consideration of the extension request, the permit may be conditioned to comply with any development standards enacted since the permit was finally approved or initially approved. Additionally, to approve this time extension, the council, meaning the Planning Commission, must find that the original permit findings can be made and that there are no changed circumstance or there has been diligent pursuit to exercise the permit that warrants such extension. And then D, the expiration. If the time limit are reached with no extensions requested or a requested extension is denied or expires, the permit expires. However, I'm understanding that they can appeal your decision, whether or not. So since you are, even though you're the body, the Planning Commission, based on the appeal process as established in the Pinole Municipal Code, they do have a right to appeal your decision to the City Council if so needed. The Planning Commission. So just kind of as part of the analysis of it, the applicant has been working with staff since June of 24 to determine if the entitlements have been exercised. We've stated that they haven't been. Based on the permitting history, the city staff determined that the entitlements granted on June 10th, 2024 by Resolution 2402 has not been exercised, and an extension is required in order to keep the permits valid. The applicant submitted materials for a formal request in order to keep the permits valid on May 8th, 2026. The request indicates that the COVID-19 pandemic, in addition to increasing construction costs, the international supply chain issues, as well as they had retirements of their architects and engineers on the project, as well as which that's important because Confire had basically a huge say in what this building was going to do and basically changed the whole style of construction of the building. So because of that, and with the change of the architect and engineers, they basically almost had to start over in terms of the design drawings for the building. The commission, with that, the Planning Commission can approve the extension based on the finding of fact that the original permit findings can be made and no circumstances have changed to the project. Staff supports the applicant's request for an extension. While the delays in this project are unfortunate, it is uncommon for projects of all types and sizes to suffer delays during the last 2 years as a result of working out requirements with outside agencies and the development of new city staff to prepare plans and specifications. These related impacts, as well as supply chain disruptions and/or difficulty working with financing. Based on that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing and adopt Resolution 26-08, approving an extension through June 10th, 2027 for the entitlements adopted via Resolution 24-02 for the Pinole Shores 2 development project located at 850 San Pablo Avenue, APN 402-230-024. So they did, just for that, they did get the parcel map approved, so that went through the process because it was, if the council, if the commission remembers, it was originally a 5-parcel project. And they, as part of the first entitlement with the 2 buildings, they were required to do a parcel map to make it all into one. That did occur, and that's why you only see 1 parcel number instead of the 5 parcel numbers that you had from the original project. So with that, Dave, I think there's one more slide. I think that's it. Yeah, so that ends my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions from the staff report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Plan Manager Hannum, for the presentation, and thank you for your work on this. We will now move to questions from the commission. I will start with Commissioner Bender.
Yes, Chair. Excuse me. I have 2 questions for staff. We received this disposition and development agreement that was dated back from May 2022.
Yeah.
Is that going to be rewritten or updated?
No, as part of the original, and I should explain that. I apologize for that. There was a request by Councilmember Martinez to review the agreements put together by the city and the Pinole Shores Project Group. That's the agreement, the disposition development agreement that was included. So basically right now they're fulfilling the requirements of that agreement in terms of getting their entitlements. Once they get their entitlements, then they'll be able to close on the property and finish the completion of the agreement. There have been a couple of amendments to the agreement. I was not able to obtain those. However, it is my understanding, basically talking to the applicant, that they were time issues, not money issues, from my understanding. But I don't have those amendments. But that is the original agreement that was signed by the company and the developer, or the city and the developer.
Okay. Because, and the reason why I'm kind of asking that is, one of the things I noticed on the disposition and development agreement, it was identified as the GRP Shores LLC,
Yeah,
which is the name we've seen on their construction documents. If you
Yes, that
will.
is their official name.
And then when I see on the Planning Commission Resolution 2608, the applicant is called One Core Global, Inc.
Well, that's the company who's doing the entitlements is One Core Global, but the legal entity is the one you just read. So that's the LLC that's responsible for the project.
Okay. And then my final question is, the property it was identified in the disposition and development agreement, the property was valued at about $3 million plus. Is that money then going to go to Pinole, or is that because it was a former redevelopment project, does that get siphoned off to either the state or the county?
No, because what the city did was when the redevelopment, it's my understanding, when the redevelopment agency closed, that they transferred all the properties that were in the agency to the city as part of the closing down of the agency. So it's a property of the city. So that money will come to the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the first question I have, if I understood the presentation, it sounds like the Planning Commission is going to be the only city agency that will review and approve this request. So if that's a correct statement, it will not be going forward to City Council?
The applicant has the ability to appeal your decision to the city council.
Okay, so the governing body tonight being us, we're the only body that's actually looking at this.
Right.
Okay, hold on one second here. So this is a lot to approve and request, as you know, we got the agreement today, this afternoon at about 2:38, and it's over 100 pages long. I guess I would have to say I'm a little concerned, and the reason for my concern stems from I've looked at a lot of business contracts, and especially when we're dealing with contracts of this size, there's usually timelines that are set out in contracts that say within, 1 year we're going to execute and we're going to pay a percentage of this, and in good faith put this X number of dollars in, and if we don't meet that timeline, there's some benchmarks that are set. And then within 2 years and within 3 years. And there's also a clawback that says if this is not completed within X number of years, the city can pull this project. This has been going on for a number of years, so I'm really, really concerned about that. So you've answered my question that we are the only governing body looking at a multi-million-dollar project for our city and the funding source that has been delayed. The next question.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, if the question is regarding the financial aspect of the project, that was basically hammered out between the city council and the applicant. So whatever is done there, that's already been done. The application tonight is regarding the extension of the entitlements of the project.
I
I just-
respectfully understand that,
Okay.
Planning Manager Hannum, but what we're dealing with is a situation that this has been delayed, and every time there's a delay in this process, there's a delay in those timelines for payment. And so that's why I'm really concerned that if I haven't had a full chance to review the documents, I'm not sure the rest of my peers up here have had the same amount of time to review exactly what we're approving, because it's not just the approval of an extension, it's also an approval of whatever those timelines were that were given for that payment schedule.
No, it isn't. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Your item tonight is based on the entitlements that you approved in 2024. That is on the project, based on the findings, based on the land use authority. If you choose to do that, that's fine. If the commission wants to make that a part of the project, but it's my understanding that that portion has been ferreted out, and that you guys are responsible for the land use, the zoning, the entitlements, and not necessarily the agreement. That would be an issue that would have to handled by the city council, and their ability to pull back the contract, or their ability to renegotiate the contract. The planning commission does not have authority to do that.
Right, but you just said that we are the final ones on this, so that would bypass.
On the entitlement of the project, not the agreement. The agreement's the agreement. That's already been signed, sealed, and delivered in that regard. It's you are the final body on making sure that you're offering an extension of their entitlements that they received as part of this project.
Okay, well, we'll move to question number 2. So in the analysis for request for extension, I'm referring to section G1, page 21 of 130. In the very first paragraph of the analysis, then can someone explain to me why there's references to negotiations with Safeway in the analysis?
That was a mistake. That was an error. That was an error on my part. That should not have been in there. That should have been stricken from this request.
So if it is in fact a mistake, it appears that staff will also need time to re-review and correct the analysis in the report. I would again recommend a delay for staff to review and correct any additional errors in this analysis.
That's fine.
Those are my 2 big concerns. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And just as a kind of reminder for the commission here, that anything we wouldn't really be able to make a decision based on the financial impact. Our decision would be strictly on the land use and the findings and compliance with the findings. So we should really avoid any conversations or any sort of conditions around funding, just so before we, get in trouble. Before we try to make a decision on something that we should not be making a decision on, but we should be making a decision based on the findings.
If I may, Chair, I hear what you're saying, but in reality, the way these contracts are traditionally written it could be something like whenever the developer takes permit of the building is when we get payment. So every year that's delayed, folks, that means another year we're not getting funding. And we're talking millions of dollars. So we've approved this once before. And I have to say that ConFire is the gold standard in terms of quickly responding to needs of our city. And they always do a great job. So really proud of the work they do. if, you know, if there was a ball drop, maybe the developer and the retirement and all of that, but if they could see this coming and they were reaching that timeline where they needed to be, then they should have escalated that with their partners, whether it be their architectural terms, whoever it was, to bump up that timeline, because we've been pretty generous considering this was entered into in 2019, and here we are 2026. Now we're moving into 2027 on a $3 million project. So again, I haven't seen the terms of that because it just came to me this afternoon. I'm just saying we need to slow this down and really figure out which way is up and which way is down, because right now, none of us know what is in this contract until we understand, do we get paid at the end? Do we get payments in the middle? Do we get payments? I can't answer that. And if I can't answer that, and all of the constituents here in the city are expecting me to answer that, and I can't answer it, I don't know that I should be moving this forward. So thank you, Chair.
Okay. I definitely hear your concerns, but just want to make sure that we stick to the land use, not financials. Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Thank you, Chair Sandoval. I guess so, question time, my concern is if we're going over, the conversation right now is, do we let them extend, right? Concerns going back to the policies of community character. So looking at other developers that have come into Pinole that have dragged their feet, Safeway, Kmart, to where that has dragged on for quite some time at the at the community's expense, to where it just looks unkept. We've had numerous problems with the Kmart with folks setting up camp. And then the safety issues regarding that. So then if we were to just redirect the conversation down to the entitlements and the consistency with the general plan, there's a couple of issues that I have with the community character elements, the policies that are in there, that I do not feel that they have been satisfied. Some of the land use and economic developments that I just don't, to me, from my understanding, it doesn't fit, because they still don't have an end user, and we're talking about having a warehouse, and how does that balance the number of jobs, and then providing basic goods and services, we don't know what that is. That to me is troublesome. And then just, are we being strategic with the growth that is happening on that part of town? This is the last vista that we have. It's 0.7 miles away from the San Francisco Bay Trail. Did we really look into it that this is satisfying that need, that we are not squandering away that parcel, that vista, and that access for the community to have mixed use? Understanding it was it was an auto wrecking company, so we can't have housing on there, but it is zoned for mixed use. So we could, in essence, have a developer, if they're wanting to turn that into a community mixed use space instead. And then just echoing, Martinez, I'm so sorry. Commissioner Martinez, of just the concern of just, we receive a very girthy report back from May, without actually having much time to really review it to be able to make this decision. Those are just my concerns and questions of just, I don't think that the general plan, the ones that we have noted in here, really fit for this project. And the concern that we are sacrificing community character at the expense to make sure that this deal that was already predetermined before I got here, and really being able to thoroughly ask those questions. I'm complete. Thank you.
Commissioner Huey, your questions.
Questions, yeah, thank you. Can staff please walk me through the process that the applicant goes through to request this extension?
Well, basically, they've had a couple of years to review their project. They found that they weren't able to exercise their permit, which is part of the condition of approval. And since we have an extension code we have an extension allowed through our municipal code. They filed a application for an extension of their entitlements for 1 year. So, and so they filed the application, and they submitted their plans, and we reviewed them, and here we are. I mean, basically, I mean, it's the same type of process that they would for a development project. They would do for a development project, but they are asking for an extension for 1 year.
Thank you. And I'm asking this question because I wanted clarification as to whether or not in the application for extension, if it is stated what the applicant will do differently to ensure that they meet the timeline.
No, there isn't anything on the application that requires that. They just have to have they just have to submit a written request for an extension and why they're asking for the extension. Because technically they've already have an approved project, at least at that point. The entitlement's already been approved, so they're just extending those existing approvals that were made in June of 2024.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, the reasons that they cited for requiring the extension, the COVID-19 pandemic, increasing construction costs, international supply chain issues, changing retail landscape. These are all really big factors, and I'm wondering how the applicant plans to navigate that, because we are running on a timeline now if they're only allowed to have the 3 years. Has the applicant verbally communicated to staff their plan to address the issues at hand?
Yes, right now they have acquired a new engineer and architect, so they're working on the plans right now. Their exercise of the entitlement is when they get their building permit. So right now, I mean, if they were if they get their extension tonight and they were able for a year, they would then need to submit their plans like they would originally and get their permits get their plans approved, and then get their building permit. So that's kind of those would be the next steps. So it's just like similar if they're building a spec building, or they're building a building that that doesn't have an end user. Some buildings don't have end users. They're built suit to build to suit type thing. So but in this case, I'll have the applicants speak for themselves. I'm sure they're online, so they'll be able to answer all those questions. Yeah, so hopefully I answered your question, or do you?
I think you did. Thank you. And then I had one more question.
Sure.
In attachment A for the resolution 2608, on the 1, 2, 3, 4th, on the 5th, whereas we provide justification as to why there was a delay, and that was because of confire and replacements. And I'm wondering if it makes sense for us to also provide a explanation as to why we are doing the extension again if this resolution was to be approved, just for the sake of consistency.
Yeah, we can add that in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Menace.
So I have a few questions for staff on this item. First, with the new packet, by which I'm referring to the disposition and development agreement that we just got today, as Commissioner Martinez noted. Mm-hmm. If I'm reading page 9 of that packet correctly, because closing requires the development to have received all necessary entitlements and a building permit from the city, the closing date hasn't actually occurred yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's my first question, and the simplest one. Second question is, going back to the staff report, towards the end of the report, the very last paragraph, it says these related impacts as well as supply chain disruptions and/or difficulty with financing, period, quotation mark. It looks like something's maybe missing there or wasn't included. I was wondering if staff could expand on what's supposed to be there.
Well, basically that last part was partly my error that I didn't erase. The main reasons that I stated earlier, meaning the retirement of their architects and engineers with the requirements of the confire, as well as some of the issues they were going to have as part of getting their materials and supplies, and the big increase in the construction costs. So basically those were the main reasons for the request for the extension.
Okay, I also noted you stated there were substantial architectural changes as part of COD Fire's request for revisions, and they're bringing on a new architect. But I don't believe we actually have those architectural changes before us tonight. We just have the 24 plan documents,
Right.
as far as I can tell.
What I mean by architect, and it's to me in the structure of the building. The structure of the building kind of, because of the materials, I mean, the elevations are all staying the same, but the types of materials that are being used now for the fire protection has changed. Like, it's more of the interior of the building. The outside of the building is not going to change. It's going to remain the same. It's more of the interior. So those plans, so it's not affecting anything from the outside, which you approved as part of your project originally from the 2024 plan.
Okay, so moving on to page 23 then, we have a whereas that says no further environmental review is necessary for the project since the scope of the project has not changed or been altered since the previous adoption of the notice of exemption. So is it change of what materials are being used, I presume, for fireproofing on the interior of the structure, a change in scope?
No, because in most cases the building, and when you're talking environmentals, in most cases it's the physical changes in the land. So the property's not changing square footage. There's no additional changes in terms of parking. There's no additional, there's no additional pavement being added or additional size in the building. It's not getting any bigger. That would allocate that. So the exemption is still relevant in terms of the project.
Okay, and under the process and procedures 1710-100C, it's got two. It says the permit as extended may be conditioned to comply with any development standards that may have been enacted since the permit was initially approved. And I was looking over the environmental justice element, which we have the latest one up from January of this year, and EJ 4.4.3, which is on page 52 of the environmental justice element, says, ensure that future improvements of a city that have an impact on the impacted community will be mitigated to a less than significant impact and will not disproportionately produce negative impacts such as an increase in pollution exposure, net loss of affordable housing, or displacement of residents. I don't think we have the CEQA documents in front of us today, but do we make the findings as part of the initial review that there would be basically no significant impacts, no increase in pollution exposure, especially given the fact that you're going to be having diesel trucks most likely making deliveries to that site, et cetera?
Well, that was all reviewed under the initial environmental review as part of the original project. So they're not proposing any changes to that at all. So in terms of the building itself and the increase in services and all that, it hasn't been determined. It already has been determined as part of that environmental document. So there's no physical changes to the building. There hasn't been an increase in an increase in the use of the building. There hasn't.
Right. I'm not talking about CEQA here necessarily. I'm talking about our conditions of approval, because the text says we can impose new conditions as part of the extension to comply with any development standards that may have been enacted since the permit was initially approved.
Yes, that's correct. You may do that. Yes.
Yeah, and the EJ element was enacted after the permit was initially approved, and I think there might possibly be an interaction between this project and Action EJ 4.4.3, which is why I'm raising that now.
So are you raising that in terms of you wanting to add an additional condition?
Well, I'm not adding any conditions yet. We're still in the questions phase. I just wanted to, clarify that.
Yeah,
we could bring that up.
If you feel that there's a standard that can be met as prior, that's an allowable thing to do, is add conditions of approval to the project based on standards that came into effect after the approval.
All right. So then going back to the development disposition agreement, it's got some segments talking about the developer's post-closing obligations. So starting on page 13 of the DDG and moving on from there, and it talks about basically saying you can't have hazardous materials on the property. And in particular, on page 15, it defines a bunch of hazardous materials. Like you can't have asbestos, obviously, or radon, but it also says you can't have petroleum or petroleum products or byproducts, components, oil, mineral spirits, natural gas. MBTBE, et cetera, and you basically have to comply with all environmental laws. But it also says, going back to page 13 again, under 4.6 subsection 1, it says, with the exception of limited amounts of cleaning supplies and other materials customarily used in construction, rehabilitation, use, or maintenance of commercial property similar in nature to the property, and any commercial uses developed as part of the project. So basically, does any commercial use developed as part of the project override the subsequent paragraphs?
Okay, you went a little fast for me. So, if you could,
Let me restate what my question was.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the segments says you can't have hazardous materials. The developer shall not knowingly permit the property or any portion thereof to be the site for the use, generation, treatment, manufacture, storage, disposal, or transportation of hazardous material, with certain exceptions. And then it defines hazardous material later to be various things.
Right.
And what my question is basically, does any commercial uses developed as part of the property basically nullify all the rest of that?
Not to my knowledge, but I would have to confer with the city attorney.
Okay, and then I have one more question with the development disposition agreement, I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, I just wanted to highlight that right now anyway, it's very explicitly stated in the agreement on page 21, section 8.2. It says the holder is not obligated to construct anything or to guarantee any such completion or to do any particular use. So I don't think that's something we can modify. They could just decide to say, okay, we're not going to bother. We're not going to do anything, and that's allowed so far as I can tell reading this. Is that an accurate interpretation?
Yes.
Okay. So going back to the staff report again, I know you stated that the negotiate with Safeway is an error by staff. Does the applicant have a potential project tenant that they're negotiating with at the present time, even if you can't go into detail as to who exactly that might be?
That I'm not sure. I mean, the applicant will be able to answer that question. I don't know if as of this point, we haven't had any businesses come to in front for us. I know they were working with a couple of potential end users. I don't know what the status of those, if they're under contract with those end users for the building or not at this point.
Okay, I think that's all my questions for staff at this point. Thank you.
And Vice Chair Utch.
Thank you, Chair. My one question to staff is for clarification in terms of procedure. What would happen if if let's say we as a commission granted this extension for another year, and the applicant will say, as let's say for the reasons indicated here, of if they're not able to exercise the the permit, what would exactly happen to the property?
The property would probably revert, well, depending on the deal of disposition agreement, that's something between the city council. It could revert back to the city if the entitlements, if they don't exercise their entitlements will go away. And so I'm not quite sure of the ownership of the property, of what it means to the ownership of the property, if they still own it, or if they no longer can close on the property because they don't have the building permit, and if so, then it would revert back to the city. So, but that's something that's something that I'm going to refer to the attorneys for to determine what really happens after that. However, their entitlements would no longer be valid, which means that if they wanted to do a project, they'd have to go back through the whole process again, get it reviewed, new environmentals, new everything.
So you're basically saying that one scenario is basically the property goes back to the ownership to the city.
Potentially. I'd have to read the total agreement. I mean, I haven't read the whole agreement as well. I'm not quite sure how the actions of what happens if they don't get their entitlements. They could still obtain the property. I mean, if they pay if they can do the closing and do that. But that's something that would have, we need to see how it plays out, to be honest. But their entitlements would go away in 2027 if they were not to exercise, get their building permit, their entitlements would go away.
Okay, because I asked, because from what I understand from your presentation earlier is
Yeah.
we've already granted 2 out of the 3 extensions, correct? Because
Yes.
we can only go up to 3 years.
Yes.
So just my concern is like the scenario what if nothing exactly happens?
Well,
right?
if nothing happens, if you agree to the extension and nothing happens, or if you agree not to extend this project and they appeal and it doesn't happen, then at that point, the entitlements all go away. So in terms of where the property goes, the disposition agreement should tell what happens if the entitlements aren't incurred, or if they don't perform their portion of the contract.
Got it. And my last just clarifying point is essentially in this scenario, it expires, and then let's say the applicant wants to try again. Essentially, we would basically restart the whole process.
The whole process would be all over. The applicant would then have to go through the full process.
Got it. That's all my questions, and thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Vice Chair Utch. Many of my questions have already been answered, but I did kind of have one more follow-up. What kind of progress has the developer made since during all this time? Because it's been quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in the process. From my understanding, is they've hired the architect and engineer. They submitted a potential schedule for us to get things accomplished and get their building permit next year. So that's, and you can talk to the applicant to see where they're at in that process and that timeline.
Okay. No further questions for me. Any other remaining questions from the commission? Okay, and then now we will open up the public hearing. So if the applicant would like to make a presentation.
I do see the applicant online. They could unmute if they just wanted to say a few words.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name's Hector Venus. I am the manager of Pinole Shores. I was hearing all the conversation, and I understand the frustration over the timing, and a lot of this happened before you guys were involved in the city. I can just tell you that at the beginning, when we started working on the property with the city, we found out through running title that there was no access to the property. And when the city took the title back from Pinole, they had failed to obtain access from the Phase 1 property, who is now owned by as condominiums. There's an association. So you can check with the city attorney, but I believe it took over 3 years to negotiate the easement, which gave the right to access the property. So that was a significant amount of time. And then at that point, then we started the entitlement process. As we know, the economy was quite a bit different. We went through one set of entitlements, and then as we were talking to various end users, there was more interest in having one building. So we revised those entitlements and went back for the approval for that time, we were going to joint venture the project with Rockefeller Group out of New York, and we had signed agreement, and we ran into the issue with Confire, and the issue was that East Bay Mud determined that they did a computer analysis and determined that under the worst conditions, there wasn't enough fire flow to meet the new requirements by Confire, which were twice as restrictive as the city requirements under the city fire department, which we originally designed the plans for. Because when we started the project, the city was handling the fire, and then somewhere in the middle of the process, Confire took over from the city. At this point, then it took us about a year. I think it was a little bit over a year we hired a fire engineer who presented various mitigations to Confire, and some were sent back for comment. Each comments, I think, were 6 weeks in the making, sometimes longer. Like I said, it took over a year to reach a mitigation agreement with Confire, and that was actually completed, I believe, in February of this year. And at that point, Rockefeller had bought a couple other properties in the Bay Area, and basically they had allocated their funds because they had been waiting for us all this time. And so we are now, and the fact that, we didn't have a tenant yet. So they wanted to delay, their project, or their consideration of the project. So we decided to go ahead and do it on ourselves, which we've done. We've done projects much bigger than this in Richmond, which David is aware of. And so that's when we provided the schedule to David, and we hired architects and engineers to work on the project, since the previous architects and engineer were no longer available. So that's where we are today. As we understand the agreement, assuming that we do not get the extension, I don't believe that the agreement goes away. I think that we would still have the right to come back for another approval and resubmit for another approval and continue the process. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Thank you for your comments on that, and going to the commission for some questions for the applicant. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the first question I would have is, in terms of, you said it took 3 years to get the access issues to get for this particular property. All the fees and everything that were incurred in that, were those paid for by your company, or did the city of Pinole incur those costs? And if you know the amount, we need to know that as well.
We have paid fees for that, and for many other professionals. We have invested to date over $600,000 in this property.
Okay, and do you know how much, or city staff, the question for you, how much the city has spent on those fees?
No, I don't have a clue how much we've spent on this fee, on this project.
Okay, so that's a big unknown. Okay, that would be the question I would have, because that seems 3 years is a long time for something like that. And so I'm wondering how much money we've already invested in this, and it's still going on with city staff and even including all of us here tonight. So thank you.
Commissioner Lim Julian.
Yes, thank you so much for hopping online and taking the time to speak with us. I guess my question is, since you don't have an end user identified, understanding how the market is with wholesale distribution and building supplies, just asking for it, help me to understand if we give the entitlement and we move through with having this one building warehouse situation, that it will, what are you doing on your end to try to fill it? Looking specifically at down the road at Richmond Parkway, similar warehouse locations are empty. Kmart sat empty for a bit, and it just seems, as a community member, help me understand how and why we should be okay with giving another extension, understanding the challenges that you had faced.
Right. Yeah, I think that, there's a big difference between an existing or an older building that doesn't meet the requirements of a modern new tenant versus a building that is just recently completed. A lot of times in the warehouse business, or most of the time, the tenants are looking for something either available immediately or very close to immediately. So if you don't have the building up, then you don't have the opportunity. We actually had a couple of users that were looking and needed delivery of the space within a few months, and they actually went and leased space in Richmond and moved forward with that. We built, like I said, we built a warehouse in Richmond. It was 250,000 square feet, and we leased it to Amazon, but it was, I would say, 3 months after completion. So, that's not unusual. It's business to build a warehouse for spec and then have a tenant come in and take it at that point.
Commissioner
I hope
Hewitt.
that answered your question. Yeah.
Thank you for hopping on and answering our questions today. I'm sorry, it was still not very clear to me. So can you, one more time, just to reiterate from my understanding, what's going to change this time around? Like, are you having, and I mean this, I don't need like the specific details. I'm just trying to understand the approach from an operations standpoint. Like, are you having regular planning meetings with your team to ensure that this project meets the timeline? Are you having more regular conversations with city staff? I'm unfamiliar with the process, and I'd appreciate your clarification on that.
Sure. So the project didn't go forward, not because we weren't, working on the plans or anything like that. Is that the project could not go forward because the fire design of the project was not defined. So, which that, as David was alluding to in his presentation, everything from the type of sprinkler system to be used, whether any wood materials would be allowed, whether even partitions could be made out of wood, or doors, for that matter, interior doors. So there is depending on what type, if the fire code has, type 1 buildings, type 2, type 3, so on, and various subcategories to that. And until we got the final definition from Confire, which, like I said, was February or March of this year, we could not do anything on the drawings because we did not know what we needed to do. So there was no way of moving forward. I hope that's clear.
I think so. And so for clarification, just to reiterate this statement here, it's your current obstacle or barrier at hand has to do with the adjustments that are required by Confire. Is that correct?
I would say that currently we do not have that obstacle because Confire approved the mitigation and gave us specific directions on how they wanted the building to be designed from a fire perspective.
Okay, thank you. And staff, I'm asking this question of our applicant because I think this alludes to a larger or maybe a more narrower scope of the issue for the analysis section of the staff report. What's written in the staff report to me is a little bit more broad, but it seems to me that there's a narrower issue that I think should be addressed in the staff report. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Menace.
So thank you for taking the time to speak to us this evening. I've got a few questions. First off, looking back at which one was it? What are these documents? Oh yeah, so attachment D for this, the comments for Pinole Shores 2 from back in February of 24. On page 107, it says that city staff requested that you show proposed line signs for both the water lines and the fire water line. And apparently it was noted that that level of detail was inappropriate for preliminary design plans on February 27th of 2024. If you had those line size noted on the initial plan, do you think the issues you ran into with Confire would have been dealt with before the entitlement clock started?
No. The issue with Confire actually came when East Bay Mud changed the way they calculated fire flow. And those were basically revised after the LA fires so that it wasn't normally fire flow had always been determined by the actual lines or hydrants that were near the area, and the fire department would go out and do a test and let you know what the fire flow was. But East Bay Mud decided that they needed to use a algorithmic system that would take into account what would be the worst case scenario in case there was multiple large fires throughout the county and that water demand was very high. And so that made the fire flow calculation much more restrictive. And then together with the change from going from the city code to the county code, which is twice the requirement. So designing the pipe size or anything wouldn't have changed anything because it's the pipes that are already available from East Bay Mud.
Okay, so that's a pretty big clarification because I was always under the impression that the fire flow thing was just the difference between the city and the county standards, but you're telling me that basically a lot of it is EB Mud's change and how fire flow is calculated in the first place, and you couldn't have predicted that in advance of the LA fires, obviously. Let's see. So is there a reason that you weren't able to provide the basically updated plans to us this evening? Because one of the things that we have to look at is that there's no changed circumstances, basically. And it sounds like you have a new architect, a new engineer, significant changes to the interior plans, even if not the exterior ones. So could you explain, why we don't have access to that information?
Well, because, so like David said, the exterior design, the look and feel of the building is the same. It's really involved in the mechanical and structural components of the building. And which we didn't know that was going to be the case, because when we were first starting to talk to Confire, like I said, that took over a year. And we explored putting in, additional water tanks, getting East Bay Bud to do an additional water main extension. So there was a lot of different options that might have changed the building. So we really didn't go much further than that. So the civil plans basically are going to remain the same with a couple minor exceptions. And the elevations will remain the same. Like I said, the mechanical and structural are going to be the main changes. So we can provide some additional plans fairly quickly, but actually we weren't aware that we that we needed to submit any change plans at this stage. So it's our misunderstanding, I guess.
And then I guess my final question for you is, if we approve the extension of this entitlement, how likely do you think it is that you'll be able to get to at least the pulling up building permit stage by the end of this extension, since it's the last one that we can grant?
I don't expect any additional hurdles, but you never know. We do have some work to do on the main road, and but I don't think the permitting of that be that difficult. I think that the bus stop needs to change. That's also under a different jurisdiction. So there's things that are not under our control 100%, or even under the city's control. So we'll, and I can say, the city was very helpful in when we dealt with Confire, but not, but Confire still made its own decision. So the city was supportive, but not, I could not have influenced Confire. So I think that to be completely honest, I think we have 75, 80% chance that we'll meet that target. We're certainly going to try to make it 100%, but I'm not going to tell you that that there isn't something that could slow us down.
All right, that's all my questions for you for now. Thank you.
Commissioner Bender.
No questions.
Vice Chair Uch.
No questions.
I did have a question. What sort of tenants have you been talking to? Prospective tenants? Is there anyone that expressed interest in this building?
Well, like I said, we had talked to a couple tenants. Are we losing our connection? Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can still hear you.
Yeah, we can still hear you. Anything promising?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I think the connection got a little weak there for a minute. We don't have anything promising now. We had two tenants that were fairly seriously or serious looking at the property. The timing was their biggest issue. One was a hospital laundry service. They do all the laundering for hospitals in the area. And the other one was an auto parts supplier. So they would distribute to the stores in the area.
Thank you for that. No further questions. Any remaining questions from the commission? Okay, let's move on to public comment. Do I have any public comment on this?
Okay, there are no further public comments at this time.
Okay, I'll give it a few seconds in case anyone hops on. Any?
No comments.
Okay. All right. Then I will then close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and comments. Commissioner Bender.
Well, where to start? I do want to note with regards to the disposition and development agreement that on page 32, it's signed by a number of city officials, both past and current, as well as the applicant. I'm not a lawyer, but to me, this looks like a legal agreement.
It is, and it has been recorded.
So I'm not concerned about that document. I do have a lot of sympathy for the applicant with regards to the hurdles they had to go through. As a retired architect, I can honestly say when you deal with fire departments, they are basically a real pain, and they can slow down every and any project. They are very non-responsive. It's oftentimes why we have to take on a consultant of a fire protection engineer is to deal with blockheads. I'm being very upfront in my commentary, if you will. So I do have a sympathy with the applicant on that issue. I was one of the ones who voted against this project in its second go-round. I was much more comfortable with it when it was a last mile delivery facility. That was the two building scenario. My concerns were the diesel pollution, because electric trucks are not coming soon enough. Those very large trucks that this facility is designed for, I'm specifically thinking of the 18-wheelers, are just going to be further deteriorations for the roads, specifically San Pablo Avenue. I haven't heard anything that changes my mind tonight. After that was referenced earlier about the environmental justice document. It was interesting that it identified the most impacted neighborhoods were immediately to the west of this proposed facility. And one of the things during that whole reviewing of those documents, I think it was during that document, some analysis was provided about pollution and sources of pollution and analysis of it. And one of the things I thought was kind of strange is how it identified only I-80, but not something like San Pablo Avenue, which is a relief valve for the freeway. That, it's my understanding, is excluded because that is just the way it is analyzed. I don't know whether that's state law or whatever. Staff could clarify that. I'm just still very bothered by this project for those reasons. Costs are not going down. They're going to continue going up with regards to construction. There is quite a bit of warehouse and distribution space in Richmond that's sitting empty. And I know of 2 buildings that are recently built within the last 2 years, and the only car I ever see there is one car, which I suspect is a security guard. And there's other spaces that have come available in fairly large blocks. They may not have some of the aspects of this, and the applicant is correct that this building will be different than some of those that are sitting vacant right now because they either hire, which some people who want to occupy facilities like this may need that. But again, I just get back to what this is going to do in terms of the diesel trucks showing up on our streets, and that bothers me. That's my comment.
Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring back the money. Every time it's delayed, folks, that's another year, another 2 years that we're not bringing in revenue to this city and closing this out moving forward. I just can't, in good conscience, give another extension. If I was the project manager on this particular project and I knew that my entitlements were about to go away, you can be rest assured I'd have the best architects and the best engineering teams we're mandating in those contracts. If we give you this contract, you're going to deliver on this at this place, this time, because we don't want to go through this process again. Again, looking from what we can see, this was signed back in 2019. I don't know if I could go to somebody and say, I want to buy a piece of property and hold on to it from 2019 to 2026, have asked for extensions without putting 50%, 75% down. I don't know. Have we been given any money on this project? I can't answer that. And that's, well over $3 million. I don't even know how many million. It just, we've referenced $3 million. My friends, I'm in good conscience. From a financial standpoint, understanding where we need to be with over $40 million to repair our roads, John, to your point, San Pablo's a very difficult road to drive on. If we can't bring in that revenue and stick to timelines, it makes it very difficult for me to approve another extension, because I was here in 2024, and I was very, as John knows, Commissioner Bender, I was excited about the project. I liked the way it looked. I liked the orientation. I liked the landscaping. There were so many things to like about it, but for it to return a year and 2-3 months later, it's this, from a financial standpoint, this one's making it a little bit more difficult for me. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Lim Julian.
I came on board in 2024, and I do remember when this came forth and feeling the frustration as a layperson, looking at this parcel and the frustration that this is going to be a warehouse. This is one of the last kind of plots of land that we have to really do something with, and the disappointment with that. And then, we're approving the design review about the plans and what it looks like. And it is beautiful, and I'm really sorry that you had so many obstacles in trying to get this done. But just as a community member, looking at this opportunity, how close this parcel is to the San Francisco Bay Trail, that we could have something mixed use other than a warehouse, that would, it were only 0.7 miles is what I looked it up, as this is how close we are to the Bay Trail. They're going to eventually someday finish it, and we would then miss out on the opportunity to really build something out for the community, versus a warehouse. And the frustration with many community members is just, what else are we going to have here to bring folks into Pinole to stay, to play, and kind of get those revenue dollars from them for being in Pinole. I'm not comfortable. I've reached out to several folks that live kind of sandwiched in between that area, and they're not just about it. I understand that they didn't make it to the public comment period. Again, working folks that work alternate hours, it is challenging to be able to make it to public comment on time to then, on top of all the other responsibilities that we have. And I still stand that I am not comfortable with this project. I'm not comfortable giving another extension. And I think that maybe we need to be thinking out of the box or just seeing what other options are out there for this plot. Thank you.
Commissioner Huey.
Thank you. First, I want to acknowledge Commissioner Bender's comment about the potential environmental and health effects that this project will have for our city and for our residents. With that being said, by the time I came on board, this project was already had its entitlements. I kind of had a hard time understanding the factors at play for the request for extension the third time around. What the applicant had stated versus what was in the staff report had a little degree of variability. And that's the reason why I was kind of asking in the beginning about the process to request the extension and what's included in the application. Maybe we need to have a discussion about perhaps imposing additional, like, not monitoring, but maybe like a check-in or a progress. And I appreciate one of my colleagues who asked, well, what progress had been done since the time that the last extension was requested? And perhaps that is a question that we should mandate on if you have to ask for an extension the third time around. I don't know where I stand on this project. I think we can go one way or the other, but I do hear the concerns with this project, but also sympathetic to all of the factors that were listed as to why this project was delayed. Thank you.
Commissioner Menace.
So what I'm wondering, and this may be a question for staff perhaps, is would it be possible to place a condition on this project based on the environmental justice elements, in particular the EJ element, which one was it? EJ 2.4.9, talking about new development that could be a source of pollution, and that triggers adequate buffer distances, filters, other equipment to reduce potential exposure to acceptable levels, and mitigations to deal with diesel. And also EJ 2.4.6, enforce mandated truck and bus routes to protect air quality and limit pollution near sensitive receptors or residential uses. And action, in particular, it was one of the later EJ ones. Let's see, yeah. Action EJ 4.4.3, ensure that future improvements of the city that have an impact on the impact community will be mitigated to a less than significant impact and will not disproportionately produce negative impacts such as increase in pollution exposure, net loss of affordable housing, or displacement of residents. So between those three environmental justice actions, I think there's a sufficient basis there for a new condition. My question to staff is there a way that we can structure a condition to, say, limit the number of diesel trucks or maybe require the use to not have diesel trucks and have something that's like lighter truck uses or electric trucks that would also still allow the project to remain financially feasible and to be able to proceed in the remaining 1 year timeline?
Yeah, I mean, if that's a condition we can craft, I'll have to sit down and look at that to see what we can come up with as part of a condition. I mean, but if that's something that the commission would want to do, we can always continue it and bring it back at the next meeting as just a continuance. That way we don't need to go through the whole public notice process. We would just be able to work on those conditions if that's something that the commission would want to do to control the diesel and stuff.
So that was actually going to be my next question, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Can we continue this item? Are we at a hard deadline that it needs to be done tonight, or can we continue it to be able to get more information from the applicant, from staff?
You can continue. You have the ability to continue this item to do that, to get more information from staff regarding the condition, regarding the applicant. Yeah, you can do that if that's what the commission wants to do. And we can get more information on the development disposition agreement, and we could have a city attorney sit in the room with you to discuss that, because that would be their bailiwick. So If you want to continue it to the next meeting or continue it to a date certain, you can do that. It doesn't, because they applied prior to their expiration date, it doesn't do anything to their project is still there until you take a final action.
Okay, so whether we continue the project or not, their final deadline would still be June 10th, 2027.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's all of my questions and comments for staff for the moment.
Vice Chair Utch.
I remember when I first came on the commission, I think this was my first major project, I was excited that, you know, Pinole was actually having some form of development, especially just seeing light industry, especially in our current era in which, you know, industry pretty much left this country and we're pretty much left with scraps. I was like, wow, sweet. And looking at it now, I'm like, over time, I'm just thinking, okay, this is a mixed-use office, and hearing my fellow commissioners talk about, and honestly, how, you know, the warehouse industry, in my opinion, isn't really as cool or exciting as manufacturing, and I'm not sure if I have more information on, like, you know, if the jobs even are well-paying blue-collar jobs, as we had it back then. And even, let's say, hypothetically, if this project is actually built, I mean, cool, we have an office, which, I mean, the whole office industry in itself isn't going so well. I mean, we can just look at any major city. Most of them are empty. I mean, the only maybe use for them now, in this case, if the office is empty, is they can be turned into housing, right? And I'm just thinking, like, and with, I really agree with Commissioner Bender's point, like, you know, even if this was a very much an active use, right, of being a warehouse facility and transporting goods, right, to other uses, right? And there's the whole issue of, yeah, pollution. And the reality is, like, I've done my reading, like, we're not really there yet in terms of battery technology for even medium or heavy trucks. And that brings on additional issues of, as much as, like, it's nice to have, you know, let's say this project was able in confidence, or the applicants, like, yeah, we're gonna have fully EV heavy trucks. That brings additional problems to our already, like, crumbling infrastructure, because the issue then is weight. Like, we're essentially having, you know, tanks rolling on our streets. That's a whole other issues. And in confidence, I don't really see, like, even if we extend it, like, I'm appreciate that the applicant is honest on, like, this isn't like a guarantee. Even if we extend or grant this extension, like, I mean, what is the likelihood? There's a likelihood that this isn't really going to happen. And there could be an opportunity anyway for some other project or some other use, because, I mean, with how the economy is, like, you know, I mean, there's not, like, I feel like there could be other opportunities. And I think, you know, certainly it seems like in the state of things, there's not really a rush, which it's not a good and bad thing, but that certainly gives us maybe some time to reflect on maybe what we as a community want. I mean, I would like to see our community have a more diverse economy, but not like, you know, diverse in the sense, okay, we are regional retail commercial center and, like, some office and, like, light industry, which is just warehouse space, which, I mean, this goes maybe semantics, but if light industry means some form of manufacturing, I'm not sure how I feel about light industry, but warehouse and office. I mean, not really making anything, but more like moving stuff around. Personally, I mean, we have plenty of that in our economy. But the point is, like, I don't honestly have confidence in this project. I would be lying if I was going to go along after hearing everything. Like, I'm just being real. So that's everything I have to say.
Thank you, Vice Chair Utch. I guess it's time for my comments. Yeah, when I came onto the commission, I inherited this project. And like Commissioner Lamb-Julian and a lot of us here, we kind of inherited this project. We kind of, I think at the time, didn't really know what to kind of expect. But, you know, I wasn't too happy with another warehouse in the city, because I know that Contra Costa has a empty warehouse problem, and I would really not want our city to also fall victim to that. I want to believe that, you know, we'll have a good tenant and then that'll activate the space, but I'm not entirely confident that there will be I'm not entirely confident that it'll be quickly filled, or that sometimes maybe even the project might not be able to be completed. I have some concerns about that, and definitely hear some concerns on the environmental side about the trucks. I also think about big trucks. It's also a big impact on our roads. It's well, we would probably get like a one-time impact fee, but you know, apart from that, like there may not be too many community benefits outside of just a warehouse. And I think that our community deserves better, and I would really like to see honestly, I'd like to see something else, and I don't think that I will be supporting this item tonight. Any other comments? Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
This isn't a comment necessarily. I'd like to make a motion to continue this item to our next meeting, if that's acceptable.
I don't hear a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Planning Manager Hannum, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
No.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
No.
Commissioner Bender,
No.
Vice Chair Uch,
No.
Chair Martinez, or Chair Sandoval, sorry.
No.
Motion's denied,
Okay.
5-2.
With that, I wanted to bring to the Commission's attention page 21 of our agenda. And this would be under bullet point 4. There is section 3, permit extension findings. It reads, the extension may only be granted when the designated approving authority, in that case the Planning Commission, finds that the original permit findings can be made and that there are no changed circumstances and there has been no diligent pursuit to exercise the permit that warrants such an extension. And I don't believe that these conditions are met at the moment. So if there's no further discussion, I would like to make, yes, Vice Chairman, Commissioner Menace.
Sure. So first off, I'd note that 3 says or. So basically there's two parts to that clause. First, the original permit findings can be made and there aren't changed circumstances, or separate from that, they've been trying to exercise the permit. And staff says basically they haven't exercised it, but I'm not sure if that means they haven't been diligently trying to exercise it. So this is, I guess, a question for staff. In your opinion, do you believe the applicant has been engaged in diligent pursuit to exercise the permit?
Well, staff recommended approval for the entitlement, so yes, staff thinks that they have done their due diligence in terms for the extension. However, that's just my recommendation.
If I may, that's the recommendation tonight is to approve the project. Since we are the approving authority, we could still reject that recommendation. Yes, Commissioner Huey.
Hypothetically speaking, if we rejected this tonight and it went to City Council for appeal, and City Council does approve, we are no longer able to impose a conditional.
No, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't come back to you for conditions. The entitlement would be extended till 2027.
So just so that I have this clear, if we voted no tonight,
Right.
and then the applicant appeals to City Council, we don't have a say in the matter after that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So with that being said, hypothetically, if city council, if we thought that they would accept the appeal, was there any conditions that we wanted to impose or state for record for city council to consider if the applicant decides that they want to appeal in the event that we all vote no, or that it passes, the motion does not pass?
Yes, Commissioner Menace.
I would suggest that before we vote, one way or another on whether we approve or deny this extension, that we impose conditions, because we can do conditioning right now as part of stage 2 of the thing. So if we want to add conditions, we should do that now. So I'd like to-
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I'm sorry
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. But if you add the conditions, unless the commission votes yes on the entitlement, the only time the conditions will come into play is if you vote yes on the entitlement.
I see. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. So they don't move forward in an appeal.
Yes, Commissioner Hewitt.
Sorry, follow-up question. So I understand that part, but if we had this discussion for the record, would it go to the city council? Can we ask the city council review what we discussed if we wanted to impose condition, if we wanted to say yes and impose additional conditions?
If you let's say if you vote no on the subject and it goes to the city council then will have the final say whether they want to add conditions, whether they don't want to add conditions, whether they approve it or deny it. It has nothing to do with the planning commission. If now the city council could say, well, let's send it back to they could send it back to the planning commission to relook at the project, and if there are conditions that need to be added, they will receive full copies of the minutes. So as part of if the applicant decides to appeal, the council will get everything that's been done tonight. So they'll get the full minutes. They'll get the new resolution. They'll get my staff report recommending it. They'll get all of your stuff denying it, as well as the minutes of the meeting. So they'll have all of that as part of their packet, as part of the appeal, if you deny it and the applicant appeals.
So I would welcome my colleagues to bring forward any conditions in case the applicant does appeal, and so that city council can have a record of what we would have liked to impose.
Right. They just don't have to act on it. That's the only thing.
Yes, Commissioner Menace.
So in that case, while I would have liked to have had the continuance in order to have more time to draft a condition, that's not what the commission as a whole desires to do. So I would suggest that we create a condition based on the environmental justice elements that I've mentioned so far that would bar the use of diesel trucks going to this property. Just as a simple environmental thing. That way we don't have to worry about specific weight levels. We just say this particular thing is a source of particulate pollutants that would be going into a sensitive receptor area that's an impacted community. And so based on that, based on our environmental justice element, we condition that this particular use is barred. I guess my first question to staff is that clear enough to work as a condition?
So you'd want the condition to say that, and I'll just put it in condition language, that the applicant shall be required to establish. Let me think for a minute how we would word that. So basically what we would do is, we could add the condition basically stating that this project shall not allow for diesel fuel trucks to be used in the process of delivering and delivering of products to and from this establishment.
And that's based on the various environmental justice elements that I suggested that I've got noted down in the minute-taking process already.
Right.
If I may, through the chair.
So Commissioner Bender first.
Well, this would be pertaining to,
Okay, sure.
Commissioner Menace, if I heard you correct, you said they were the environmental justice element 2.4.9, and then you referenced another one, 4.4.3, and then there was yet another one, because you referenced 3 of them, but I didn't catch the third one. So to make it clear for staff, can you please point out that third one, please? Thank you.
Right, so the first one was 2.4.9 on page 48 of the environmental justice element. That starts when new development would be a source of pollution. And then the second one was, let's see.
4.4.3.
4.4.3 was the final one. There was another one in between those two, I believe.
Was it 2.4.6?
Yes,
We got them all.
2.4.6, so yeah. And also, to a lesser extent, 2.4.6. Well, no, not really 2.4.7, because we're not talking about barriers. We're just talking about removing the polluting use entirely.
I just wanted to say, doing that in effect would mirror what West County had to do in the Richmond area when Richmond citizens had such an uproar over the distribution centers. And there was a moratorium for a period of time under which the county would draft new regulations, and their regulations stipulated that any new distribution centers had to have the electrical infrastructure actually installed, not just conduit stub-ups, et cetera. It had to have the wiring and everything in place. This project, if memory serves me right, was approved with only the conduits and stub-ups being installed for future electrical hookup.
Correct.
That's all I want to say.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I guess for me, and again, this goes back to I wasn't able to read through this whole document. I need to understand, and I will take the time this week to read this 100-page document, but I really need to understand how the money's going to flow. It makes me very nervous that we're in 2027, we're 8 out of those 10 years into a project, and I don't know if we've been paid $250,000. I don't know if we've been paid $1 million. And I've watched the CIP over the years, and I haven't seen a big drop of money coming in from Pinole Shores 2. So that keeps me up at night, especially when I look at what we need. So my ask of city staff is we need to have a really clear understanding of what is the timeline of payment on this? Because if we don't get paid till the very end and nothing happens, it just kind of falls apart, does that mean we get nothing? Did we only get some fees for the application and a little bit on the permitting? That's a lot of city staff time. So I need to understand, show me the money. I need to understand in this contract what that is, because without reading this, I have no idea what I'm up against. So that's what I would ask, please.
Yeah, I also wanted to clarify before we move further on that I don't think that we should be considering the financials of it. I think we should be considering it from a land use perspective, and that the extension is not warranted. Plan Manager Hannum, and then
I was just going to say, I mean, you don't have much on the floor yet, but if you want further detail and you want more information, then I would recommend that you continue the meeting to the next regular scheduled meeting. That gives you 2 weeks, or now gives us 3 weeks till August 24th. 2 weeks. So that'd give us enough time. We're continuing the meeting. We would continue it so we wouldn't have to go through the same noticing. We would still notice the people, the 300 foot, but we wouldn't have to do the notice in the paper. So, or either one, but we would notice, we'd send out another notice for that. So, I think if, it's a big project and there are some issues that want to be cleared up. And so if you want to recommend a continuance, then you can do that. If you don't, then I'm just saying that's an option that you have. So,
I'll pass.
with that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Bender?
I just want to say, again, getting back to my past occupation, there's been a lot of consternation over delays, and it frankly is not unusual to have delays in projects. The biggest delays occur from two sources. And I know some people here might not appreciate what I'm going to say, but sometimes it's city reversals and changes and so forth and so on, and wanting to add things, and so the negotiations go on forever. But one of the biggest ones is the issue in the area of finance. And if people can't get the money, the project doesn't happen. You can go through and get your entitlements, you can even get a building permit, but if the money's not coming forward, it just doesn't happen. And that is also partially impacted, especially in commercial world, by whether they can get tenants. Because it used to be if you can get a building leased up to like 30, 40, 50%, the money would flow. But especially in this day and age, it's not unusual to see projects not happening. And there are people having to go through the same thing as this applicant has. I just wanted to say that with regards to that. And I was curious, independent of all of this, 4 or 5 months ago, I was wondering what happened with this project, and I happened to look on the county website, and at that point, it was still city property. But that was a snapshot at that time. I don't know what's happened since.
It's still city property at this point.
Thank you for that. And with that, I thank you, Plan Manager Hannah, for all your work on this, but respectfully, I do disagree with the recommendation here, and I will make a motion to reject Resolution 26-08, as the Commission does not find that there has been a diligent pursuit to exercise the permit and an extension is not warranted.
I would second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Plan Manager Hannah, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Menace,
No.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
No.
Commissioner Martinez,
No.
Vice Chair.
Just for clarification, the motion is to reject the resolution.
Right. So if you're voting yes, you're rejecting the resolution. If you're voting
Yes.
no, you are agreeing. That you're saying that there should be an extension.
Wait.
Okay.
Or you're what?
So for
basically-
clarification,
Okay.
I think we should redo the vote. Yes.
Well, let's redo the motion. The motion on the floor is
The motion on the floor is to reject,
to deny resolution 2406. 2408, 2608, I'm sorry, 2608.
Motion is to deny and reject Resolution 2608, as the Commission does not find that there has been.
Stop right there. You're denying the extension of the project
Yes.
based on, then go on.
Yes. Okay. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need me to restate it or no? Okay. No?
Just restate it for the record. if you
Okay,
could.
I'll restate it for the record. The motion is to deny Resolution 26-08, as there has not been a diligent pursuit to exercise the permit and an extension is not warranted. Yes, we
Give me a
would do
second.
it over again.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Could we please have a roll call? And
Okay.
so for clarification, this is to deny the project.
Commissioner Menace,
So just to be clear, when I say no on this, that's voting against denying the project, correct?
yes. Yes.
No.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Vice Chair Uch,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1 to deny resolution 26-08 for entitlements for Pinole Shores 2, located at 848 San Pablo Avenue.
Yes, thank you for that. And I just wanted to clarify for the record that any person may appeal the action of the Planning Commission by filing an appeal with the city clerk in writing within 10 days of such action. Following a public hearing, the City Council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 with a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Please note, if you challenge a decision of the Commission regarding a project in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in writing delivered to the City of Pinole at or prior to the public hearing. Okay, and with that, we will move on to our next item, which is old business, which we have none. Then we do not have any new business. And then that moves us to our City Planners Commissioners report. Planning Manager Hannum, do you have anything to report for us?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Couple things. First thing is, at this point, in terms of projects, we're continuing to work on our projects that we have in front of the entitlement process. You saw the demolition for Kmart. The building's down. Fencing's probably going up. We're still working with the developers for AP&80 Center. We're also working with potential entitlements for Pinole Vista, so apartment complex. So we're still working with the applicants on those, see where that's going to go. So we're still continuing that. We're also continuing all of our policies on our implementing our housing programs and doing those things. I want to point out that on our website that Justin did a great job on putting together a zoning map that outlines a GIS map that you can go on, hit a parcel, get your address, zoning, all the good stuff on there. He did a great job doing that, so I wanted to mention that. So that was a great job. Let's see what else in terms of projects. Other than that, I just have one last thing, and that's I submitted my letter of resignation to the city of Pinole. So I will be leaving. I'll be leaving here the next 30 days. My last day with the city will be September 3rd. So I will be becoming the community development director for the city of Lodi. So I want to say what I want to say here is I want to say what in terms of this working with this commission and all the commissions in the past, I want to say thank you. You guys have done a great job. You guys have looked out for what the city has wanted in terms of policies and procedures and all the good things. And I wish you guys all the best. And I will, if you need me, I'll be giving you my information. If you have any questions, I could be located on a consultant basis. No, just kidding. No, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you guys have put in. This is hard work. People don't understand when you guys look at projects or review projects and, they just think, oh, just yes, no. No, there's just a lot of different things that you have to review and a bunch of things, and you guys have done a terrific job with the projects. We've brought a lot of projects in a short period of time to this commission over I've been here the last 6.5 years, so really the last 4 years. I mean, we've approved 600 units. We've, in 5 different projects all over town. The initial approvals for even Pinole Shores, the continuation of entitlements for AP&80. So there's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of work done by this commission over the last, at least the time that I've been here, and you guys have done a great job. So again, I wish you guys the best of luck and in your endeavors. And if, like I said, if you have anything for me, I'll be happy. Like I said, I'll be here until the 3rd and then of September, and then we'll move forward. So again, I want to thank you guys for all your hard work on the commission. Thank you.
To the commission for questions. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Menace.
So first, one more basic question. Is it September 3rd or September 30th that you're going to be leaving on?
September 3rd. So yeah, I'll be leaving the 3rd.
Okay. And just want to, express my gratitude to you for your work with the commission as, the planning manager and the work that you've done with the commission to help guide us through creating new general plan elements and moving through various projects and addressing various gaps in our collective knowledge. You'll be missed.
Commissioner Huey.
Are you closer to home at least?
Yeah, it's only about, the commute drops from 2 hours down to about 50 minutes,
Excellent.
45 minutes, 50 minutes. So,
I also want to congratulate you and express my thanks. I said this in my interview when I came onto this commission, was that I really appreciated the planning manager because you always do follow up on an item. You don't let things just hang, and you're always willing to ask questions and seek clarification. And really, you've been amazing. And I'm very glad that we got to experience one of the planning academies together. It was a time to be had, and I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
oh yeah, definitely. See you in March.
Commissioner Martinez.
Dave, I just want to say, it's not really a question, but it's just a big thank you. I've been in this city, like many of you, for a very long time, well over 30 years, right? And for a large percentage of this city's time, the Keep Pinole, which was leave all of our plots empty and buildings broken down, it was really disheartening to see our beautiful city just left. But under your hand and your guidance, we were able to successfully get over, $700 million of reinvestment, tearing down the old hospital, putting in the new townhomes, the plot of land on San Pablo that sat vacant or very derelict for many years is now the home for many seniors, our veterans. But that was under your hand and your guidance. And without your guidance and that steady hand, I don't know that we could have accomplished everything in such a short period. So really, thank you for all the hard work that you and your team have done to make this possible. So, blessings carry you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Lam Julian.
Not a question, just a comment. I want to thank you for making all of this digestible. It's a lot, and it could be dry, and it could be complicated. And your kindness and compassion of just walking things through for me and helping me understand how it all kind of comes together, and just the thought process behind it, and just really helping me just be better at looking at these agendas, these packets, and these projects, and looking at it through that lens. And I really appreciate the ride along to understand all of the little pieces, how they all come together, and just looking at the parcels, and just, you were always so accessible to where you didn't have to just make a time for me, but just really explaining to me and having just amazing conversations of understanding how we got here, what it could be, and just what those changes look like. I really appreciate that. And Planning Academy was super great. And watch out, Lodi.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, Vice Chair.
I'd like to say thank you, Planning Manager Hannum, for all the work you've done for the city. And I would say, I remember the time when you've invited me to your office to get me, familiar to be what it's like to be a commissioner. And as someone during that time who was in college, studying to be a planner, go Gators, urban studies and planning major. I really appreciate the guidance, but also the work that you've done, especially someone who has, studied this topic as, someone who's very passionate about the urban environment. I'm really inspired by, the work that you've done, to see how, for any other person, this is the banality of bureaucracy. Whoa, I remember just thinking like, oh, city planning is so cool. I still do, but it's much more.
It is cool. What are you talking about?
It
It's the
is
best
cool,
profession
but
ever.
no, it is cool, but there's a lot of serious hard work and commitment, to do it from every minute detail, even looking at the parcels, the sidewalks, the kinds of developments, even if, you've really shown me like, as an inspiring planner of, how things are, than just like, reading books or theory. As much as that's important, you really shown me on the steps on how, a planner, how a planner's work contributes to making a city better. And, I really do respect your commitment and your service to the city. And, find it very inspiring that, one day, I get to be a planner of your standing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I
That's all I have to
appreciate it
say.
very much.
Here in Pinole.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's congratulations, and it's good timing, your commute to Lodi, especially with Trump gasoline prices. I guess I shouldn't say that. I'm being political. Sorry. Anybody in the audience, I apologize. I think the one thing I want to thank you for is during your time here, we haven't seen anything as ugly as the Gateway West and East projects. That's the DaVita project, which to me looks like it's a county jail masquerading as a DaVita facility on Pinole Valley Road. Things have improved. And one of the reasons why I left the Planning Commission for the first time is because even though I was on the design review at that time for what would have been the Sprouts, the Gateway West, East, whatever they called it, I did one of my excursions to Japan, and so I didn't participate in the design review meetings. But that was the real reason why I left the Planning Commission after that. And I have no regrets about that. And it's just unfortunate the Safeway was never built, but that was a far better looking project than what's out there in Pinole Valley Road, which is overscaled, and it's horrible in every sense of the word. So thank you very much for allowing developers and especially the architects to be able to do what they were doing. And best of luck.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and now it's time for me. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for all your service. I think Pinole has definitely grown beautifully under your leadership. I think how many hundreds of housing units have you been able
600.
to?
600.
That's a lot. That is a lot, especially for a smaller city like us. So we definitely thank you for your service. And as John had mentioned, Commissioner Bender had mentioned, I think you hold developers and you hold people to a very high standard, and I think that the community definitely benefits from that. And also wanted to thank you. You've been extremely gracious with us. You've been really allowing us to develop as commissioners. I don't think we'd be where we are as a commission without you. And I think that, we will definitely miss you, and Lodi definitely will be having a great plan. We'll be having some great staff. And yeah, thank you for your service, and I wish you the best of luck. We will definitely miss you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I mean, it's been a great 6.5 years, and you guys have done good. You guys have really done a great job. And so, and I look forward. Trust me, I'll be watching. So I always watch the communities that I worked in and see what happens after I leave. So if you hear from me, and I got all your emails, so if you hear from me, but anyway, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right. And do we have any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay. Any commissioners would like to report anything out? Yes, Commissioner Bender.
Since you're not leaving yet, I wanted to bring up an issue. The old bank building.
Wait a sec, Justin, make sure you get this down. No.
Justin? The old bank building, the floodlighting that was installed, God knows when, with the conduits sticking out of the building and the naked light bulbs that are doing the floodlighting, was that ever permitted, or did that just happen?
Well, I think they were required to do some lighting, but from my understanding, I have to go back and look. I don't think anything was allowed to be attached to the building. I'm not positive to that. I'll have to go back and look at we'll go back and look at the conditions and see if they were. I know there was some direction that they had to be they had to look the same as a building. I mean, they couldn't put black floodlights on the white building or something like that. It had to be at least consistent. The color of the lights had to be consistent with the building. But I'll have to go back and look. I mean, they should be just regular lights. I mean, if they're in disrepair and that too, in terms of like one light's one way, I mean, we need to correct that.
They're not in disrepair. It's just everything's exposed.
Okay.
And you have basically, as I said, naked bulbs, shining in your face as you're walking down the sidewalk at night.
Okay.
And I thought in the regulations, you're actually supposed to have the lighting should be kind of discreet or shielded. And these are definitely not shielded.
Yeah, that's something we'll go back and take a look at that. And if they're not, then we'll start looking to do a code enforcement activity on that, just to make sure that that they apply with that. Yeah. Definitely.
As I bring it up, because that kind of lighting is allowed, but the way it was done, it's frankly god awful.
Well, yeah, and it's not supposed. I mean, I'd have to take a look at it. I mean, it's like I'm not really here at night. That's the problem. But I'll take a look at it tonight if it's on when I go out there when I leave, because it can't be leaking onto other people's property. It's got to be it's got to be it can't leave the property. So we'll have to take a look and see what they have out there. So
And that is it, Chair.
Thank you. Our next item is communications. Do any commissioners would like to have any communications? Yes, Commissioner Menace.
Yes, so I have several communications that I'd like to make. First, I'd like to do my usual highlight of the various events that are going to be happening in the city over the course of this week. There was the general produce distribution this morning and the Plan Commission meeting today. There's also, I believe, going to be a senior food distribution tomorrow from 10 to 11 at the Senior Center. And there's going to be a backpack distribution for Pinole students at the Alex Clark Room on Thursday from 2 to 5 p.m. being run by the police department. And the other thing I wanted to highlight, and the reason why I'm wearing a mask today, is because the rate of COVID-19 in the community has continued to increase. The state of California as a whole, as of the 1st of August, was at a moderate level of COVID-19 prevalence. And more locally, let me zoom in on this thing. We have locations ranging from moderate to very high, one or two very low, but there's still quite a few moderate nearby. So I would encourage people, ordinarily I'd be making this sort of statement at council meetings, but there are no council meetings this month. So I would encourage people, while COVID-19 rates are continuing to rise, to wear masks indoors, and if they rise to the high level, to also wear them outdoors. Hopefully it will level off and start to decline at some point, but as of right now, it definitely has not. Thank you.
Any other communications? All right, any public comment?
Not for this item.
Okay, our next item is our second citizens to be heard, continued from item E. Open to members of the public who do not speak under the first citizens to be heard item. The public may address the Public Planning Commission on items that are within its jurisdiction but not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning commissioners may discuss the matter brought to their attention, but by state law, the Ralph M. Brown Act, action must be deferred to a future meeting. The time allowed is 4 minutes. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
Yes, there is a hand raised online. Caller with the phone number ending in 5748.
Okay, please go ahead whenever you're ready. You have 4 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Anthony Offspring. longtime resident of Pinole, homeowner, taxpayer, over 50 years. I was calling to, not to beat a dead horse though, but to continue to voice my disappointment with the current city council. And I'm not sure who's going to be running for council come November, but I hope we get some good new blood in there versus the old stale blood. I mean, not old blood, and it shouldn't be limited to the 35 and under group, is what I heard is being promoted with 2, if not 3 of the city council, 3 musketeers there that are currently in charge of our city, more or less. And I quite didn't understand why we have to lose such a good warrior like Dave Hannon. I just tuned in late and I just heard he was leaving us. That wasn't because of the politics in City Hall or in the kitchen, was it, or something else with the new city manager or the change of guard with the city council, number one. And also I wanted to ask if Dave Hannon can tell where the dotted lines begin and end, or the fence line begins and ends, and it's not the pun with Caltrans versus the city, because we keep getting excuses after excuses. Oh, this is Caltrans this and Caltrans that, but we don't have a Caltrans designated department or employee or staff to communicate with Caltrans on somewhat of a regular basis, whether it's picking up the phone, writing letters, etc. And the city of Pinole shouldn't be all putting that on the general public, because they have a lot of other things on their plate to deal with public health and safety. If the lights are working up and down San Paulo Avenue, Pinole Valley Road, or over the I-80 interchange at by the bowling alley, or down below Mechanics Bank and Jack in the Box, that have been out for months, if not close to a year now, and the maintenance work, you know. So where is that dotted line? Is it the chain link fence on the off ramps and on ramps? And why can't the city of Pinole get their act together and designate somebody to be in touch with both Caltrans and the public to get some of these things done? Granted, we're not a San Ramon, Walnut Creek, or a big city like Dublin that can maybe do that, but we shouldn't be treated like chopped liver by Caltrans when they fill up one pothole or do one weed abatement thing over there on one side of the freeway and not the other, or fix one light and they don't fix the other 3 or 4 lights around it. Also, I got to revisit the situation at the city library. You know, there's 2.5 truckloads of garbage debris back there, and the county or the city of Pinole should be jointly responsible for contributing to that with the Garden Club, but I think the Garden Club and the Friends of Pinole Creek. And granted, you know, I volunteered off and on for that, but they just keep piling these old trees and bushes, and you can go to the back of that library right now, and it's been like that for almost a year, and people say the county's responsible to clean that up or come and pick it up. Well, all it's going to take is one of those homeless transient
Please wrap up
people
your
there
comment. Your
to
time
light
has
a match,
expired.
and the whole town will go on fire. The apartment buildings and that library they're trying to refurbish is going to go down, and they're only doing a roof and an HVAC job and an ADA job, and they're not repaving that parking lot full of potholes and alligator marks, or fixing the ingress regress in that narrow driveway. So someone's got to look at the money, because Kensington
Please wrap up your comment. Your
the
time has
budget we
expired.
got, and they're getting their library fixed from head to toe, but we get chopped liver, and we're only getting an HVAC system and a roof. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. Just as a reminder, the citizens to be heard was cut down last meeting to 4 minutes. So there's 1 less minute. Did want to comment on some of these things. The public works item, the issue with Caltrans, I think that would probably be a public works item.
Yeah, I mean, but most of the boundaries are outlined by the cyclone fences. That's usually the indicator of where their right of way ends and ours start. The bridge is a little different because they do have some. I think it starts at the bridge, ends at the bridge. They might also have like an apron, small apron before it gets to the bridge. I'm not positive, but that's usually what Caltrans will do. Everything below the property, everything below the bridges is Caltrans, because they own the air. Believe it or not, own the air between the bottom of the bridge to the top of the sidewalks. We usually have easements that allow us to go in and maintain those areas underneath the bridges. But in terms of like when you're coming off of Pinole Valley Road, the fences are usually the indicators of right of way, of their end of their right of way, beginning of ours. So that's on that one. And that's all I have on that.
Yeah, thank you for your clarification on that. Yes, Commissioner Menace.
I think there's one question that Plan Measure Head might be able to answer. You're mostly leaving just in order to be able to move closer to your home and deal with your commute, right? It's not some hidden secret vendetta with the city of Pinole or anything like that.
Well, this planning commission, I mean, they've been pretty bad to me actually for the last 4 years. I've been kind of keeping it under wraps and, didn't want to, it was an opportunity that presented itself that, it checked all the boxes from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. And, the commute definitely played a factor in that. I mean, I was just showing Frankie tonight, it's going to take me about an hour and 45 to get home. And that's actually good. That's a good time. That's not, so yeah, but like I said, I really enjoyed working for the city. I had a great time. The staff, like Justin, has been awesome over these last 6.5 years that I've been here, working with Lily, working with the whole community development staff, building Keith and Connie and Joanna and Kapil and everybody. It's been really good. I mean, I've worked in a number of different cities. This is like my 5th or 6th city, so I've had a number of staffs. This is by far probably, and even the whole building, when we had the public works crew on the first floor, was really a cohesive unit working as really one, and I thought that was really a good thing. So like I said, it was really hard for me to be honest. It was really hard for me to make that decision, but I, like I said, it kind of checked a lot of boxes, and I still have a lot of career left, so you never know what could happen in the next 10 years, 15 years. No. And, so it just presented itself, and I took it, and I applied for it. So, and I was lucky enough to get the position and thankful for it. And, but my time here was awesome. I mean, it really was. And I appreciate everybody, the changes in the commission. I mean, I do not have one original commissioner from when I started. So, in fact, which for 6 years, that's not one. I mean, normally you just have maybe 1 or 2 that have gone, but I've got to change all 7 members from the time I first started. So that's kind of exciting in itself, that the activity, the climate, and hopefully that will continue, because I know we got some term limits coming up. We got potential leaving for, different things. And so hopefully that continues, because I think you guys do good work, and you guys, and I think that as a unit, you guys are very, very good. So I wish you the best of luck. And no, it wasn't any personal vendettas. I'll give you names later, but no, but anyway, no, it was just one of those things. So, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you for that. I do not envy that commute. I'm very happy that you're able to get a much shorter commute and that you'll have more time for yourself. Do we have any other public comment?
No additional comments right now.
Okay, sounds good. And with that, our next meeting is on September 14th at 7 p.m. And with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you.